I'm Stacy Grinsfelder,
And I'm Daniel Cantor.
and you're listening to True Tales from Old Houses, the Minisode. We are squeezing a little extra Minisode in here for all of you. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, how much fun, how exciting. Good to see you.
It's great to see you too. I had this expectation when we took off in January that I would just be talking to you all the time and we'd see each other and maybe hang out, and we did none of that.
I know we have to store up our anecdotes and things for the record, so we need a
Naturally.
code of silence in the middle there. But it's
Good
it's
point.
so good to see you. How's your vacation been? Your vacation braids look amazing.
My vacation braids, as do yours.
Thank you. Oh, they took hours.
I'm sure. No, vacation's been good. Not very vacation-like, but it has been nice to regroup and start booking more guests and work behind the scenes and just get ready for season 11 without the same pressure of both getting ready and producing shows. So I've had a great time. How about you?
Good. Also, not very vacationy, but good. Getting important things done, which is nice, and excited for season 11 to start on what is it, Monday, May 6th, I think.
Monday, May 6th. You are correct. You
How
are correct.
exciting!
Right. Now, before we start talking today, I do have two little announcements. I'm sorry, I have to bring this stuff up. So the first one
Never
is that
apologize.
the first one is that I will be teaching two wood window workshops. Brad, your boyfriend Brad, he put
Oh, that
together
guy.
a
Yeah.
yes, he put together a great weekend, actually two great weekends of the window workshop at Silver Lake outside of Perry, New York. That's Western New York, sort of equidistant from Buffalo and Rochester. And you can reserve your spot today. There's a link on my website, blakehillhouse.com. And the other announcement is that we really only have a few more weeks to book that trip with me to England. And I talked about that last season really briefly, but in short, I am hosting another tour through Holiday Vacations. It is September 7th through the 17th. We are going to go all over in England. We're going to start and end in London. We're going to go to Stonehenge and we're going to see the countryside. We're going to see city life, architecture, and windows. So if you want to come and obsess over that sort of thing in September, then you can go to blakehillhouse.com and there's a link right there on the homepage to book that trip.
Sounds so much fun. And that the wood window workshop, I said, is that's going to be really fun. We did it last year. We did one weekend last year. This year, we're doing two. And
Two. Mhm.
yeah, you can hang out at the Silver Lake Institute, which is just a bizarre and fun and weird place. And yeah, we've done it before, so now we have some experience under our belts. I'm talking like this is my thing too. It's totally not. I'm just sort of
Oh,
there.
no, it's your
But
thing. You're the social director. You'll be there, and of course, that always gives me a good opportunity to hug you around the neck. So I'm glad
great. Yeah, I'll be the cheer captain of the wood window
of the
workshop.
workshop.
Yeah. Give us the big house update. I see you're refinishing stairs, you're doing this and that. Tell me everything.
Yes. All right. Well, I guess the biggest thing that I should say is that it is April and my house is not on the market. When we last left the podcast, the plan was to put the house on the market in March. And so I do have a little update about that. My update is kind of a non update, but what happened was at the beginning of February or towards it started towards the end of last year, I was getting very close to hitting a wall. Some of the things everybody knows, I had surgery last year, so that kind of put the work that I was doing on hold. And then, of course, Andy's in Utah and we're going back and forth. But I also launched two of my sons. They left, and one of them moved to Japan. So that was kind of a big deal.
Right.
My daughter is in her senior year of high school. And what I found was I was cleaning the house and I was fixing it and I was organizing and I was recovering from surgery and I was launching two children. And I just had to stop. I finally just had a real heart to heart with Andy and said, I can't do all this. I can't do it
Hmm.
all. And so, what we agreed to do was to take the pressure off of listing the house in March to
Hmm.
continue working towards that goal, but just like I said, take that pressure off. And it's been really great. I've been more motivated to get some things done. Once we didn't have that deadline anymore, I was like, "Oh, thank goodness. I don't have to do this anymore." And I could process all of the things that had happened in 2023, which
Right.
I
You had quite a
truly did
year.
not have time to do. It
Yeah.
was quite a year. Yeah. So I don't have an update for you when I'm moving to Salt Lake. We have not bought a house in Salt Lake. I don't have an answer for you when this house will be for sale. I'm just moving forward. I'm on the one day at a time plan.
I mean, that's a good plan. We're always kind of on the same plan, I think. So,
Yeah, the cottage. Tell me about the cottage.
well, same. Still not on the market, but getting closer. So, I think I publicly stated a goal to have it on the market in mid-March, which didn't quite happen, obviously, but it is getting very close. So I've, as you're well aware, I'm always weeks behind on Instagram. So, in reality, I've started moving furniture in. There's
Oh,
rugs.
wow.
I hung the last of like I don't you have to hang like the towel rod and the toilet paper holder and stuff like that. So
Sure.
all that stuff I've stopped drilling holes in the brand new tile. I'm pretty sure, which is nice. That's always nerve wracking. And yeah, it's coming together. It's like really very nice.
Oh, I bet it is. Does it make you want to live there?
No, 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 but it is tempting. If I wasn't on sort of such a what feels like a real time crunch to like get it on the market, it's the right time of year, all that stuff, I really would probably move in there for a little while just to have some major stuff like knocked out on my house because as you know, the kitchen renovation is sort of the next thing and for years now I've had this basically functioning kitchen that is also a disaster and that's all going to go away shortly. I'm not going to have a functioning kitchen again, which would be much easier if I were living a block away in a perfectly finished house. So there's a tinge of sort of, I don't know, jealousy there of like I do kind of wish I could live there for just like a month, but ultimately my house is great and people ask me a lot like aren't you going to be so sad when you go to sell it and stuff and I really don't think so. I'm sure I'll have like a moment, but it's always been the plan. I've never intended to move into that house, so I'm excited for it to be somebody else's problem slash joy.
So another thing you have to catch me up on is your trip to Barbados.
Oh, the Barbados. I mean, I don't have a ton to report. How do I say this without sounding like a total jerk? We didn't love it.
No.
Can you
Oh,
believe
you were so
I'm
excited about it.
such a jerk? So, in many ways, our own fault. Like, we did not do like any research or anything. So, we got there and learned quite quickly that like we definitely needed mobility because our hotel was like it was fine, but it wasn't a place that you would just like spend all day every day at for a week. So we rented a car, which was an experience because you drive on the other side of the road there, and the drivers are crazy, and the roads are crazy. Like it's like one big pothole, and so that was dramatic. I did all the driving, and Brad did all the screaming at me next to me. At one point, I just like pulled over and was like, "Do you want to take over?" Even though he was not, on the rental contract or whatever. But we made it through that. And yeah, I don't know. We got both of us, like, I think it might have crossed over into the sun poisoning territory where we were damaged when we left because we just got brutal sunburns on the very last day
Oh
and
no.
like we both spiked a fever, like we were in bad shape. And I prior to this was like, yeah, I don't really burn. Like, I'm pretty good with sunscreen. We both forgot it on the last day and just got fried. So,
Oh
anyway,
no.
that was the trip. I don't know.
I feel like maybe I need to teach you how to take a vacation. I
I
don't
think
know.
so. Yeah, we're bad at it, but we sure tried.
That sounded super condescending. I didn't mean it to sound like that. But it's like, all right, maybe you do need one of those vacations where it's all planned for you
I
and
think
you
I do.
just go. And that's not a bad thing.
And like that's completely how I am with travel. I'm a tell me where to be and when, and then like I will be 10 minutes late, but I will be there.
Sure.
I don't like to plan. I don't like to deal with anything logistical, just like in life generally.
Right.
So neither of us really planned anything. I don't know. I think we just kind of thought it would be a little more of like a resort situation than it was. And I don't know. How can I complain about going to the Barbados? But I would have picked a different island, I think, were we to do it again. But I'm glad we went. It was fun. I got a seashell.
Well, good, good. A time off is never wasted, right?
Yeah, it was nice to just step away for a minute. So that's that's my vacation update. And then we've kind of been doing some work on the lake cottage again. Brad had his, I guess, actual spring break. I don't know. We talked about it before how New York has like these two spring breaks. So the later spring break just happened, and I went to the lake for like a week. And it's funny because the house, we really pulled it all together, particularly for the TV show, but also just because like it was pretty much done. And then last week we took everything out of the two smaller bedrooms and tore out the ceilings. And this was like a year of light drama over these ceilings because in my view, they're sort of the best part of the house, or like one of the best parts of the house. They've never been painted. They're just pine, but like plank ceilings, super patinaed. Like the roof leaked at some point, so there's water stains. I find it all very charming, and especially because now like the walls are all painted. Like it feels very spick and span. So having this like real nice texture and patina on the ceiling is really nice. And Brad was inclined to replace it all, and he was like, "Oh, we'll just get like new pine and we'll stain it and it'll look fine." I'm like, "No, it will not look fine." So
Yeah.
my
And I have to
oh, sorry.
interject here. I'm going to
Yes.
interject here because I
Yes.
think that I know the story of why you're working on the ceiling. And I would like to just,
Oh, right. I didn't even explain why. Yes.
when Brad moved into that house, there were, I think it's safe to say, piles of excrement
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
the ceiling area above that pine. Well, on
Mhm.
that pine, directly on
Mhm.
that pine, from squirrels, maybe raccoon, whatever was there, mice, you name it. Clearly, that is all gone now. He did a beautiful job. It was vacuumed, it was wiped, he used all that. What is that stuff? Nature's Miracle, all those products that are supposed.
Yeah, he was up there with a garden sprayer and like bleach, and I don't know what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, he
He tried
did
really hard.
so much, right, and then it didn't smell like rodents anymore, which was fantastic, didn't smell like animals, but I guess he thought, and I never noticed this, by the way, and I did stay there in the summer, but I guess he could catch a whiff every now and then when on on a warm, humid day, he could catch a whiff, or you could catch a whiff, and like I said, I never did, but that's kind of started the whole thing where he thought, I need to just tear this out and start over because whatever I'm doing is not working 100%.
Yeah, it's funny. The house, it's just built so bizarre and everything's so thrown together. So he was able to clean the above part of the ceiling much better in the area over like our bedroom, the biggest bedroom, because the ceilings in there are like almost an inch thick and you can like move around on them. In these parts of the house, the ceilings are is less than a quarter inch planks, and
Wow.
they'd all separated and stuff. So the other thing that was happening was like dust and stuff would just sort of like fall through the cracks and, add to the dust situation, which is always bad enough in an old house. So There were a lot of compelling reasons. My thing was just, I don't want it to look different when we're done. I want it to basically look like we didn't do anything. And he generously agreed to go along with my lunatic plan, which was we'll take them all down very carefully, board by board. Then we'll frame new ceilings. We kept it real simple. We did like 2x4s, 24 on center, like just this house. It's the strongest part of the house now. And then we put up 1/2 inch plywood to basically turn the whole ceiling into a big nailer. So that is sort of a tip I picked up from someone where, especially if you're working with salvage materials, like it really helps to not have to worry about landing on joists, to just preserve as
Smart.
much material as you possibly can, so we don't care where the joints are, we can just nail anywhere. And then I ran all of the boards through the planer, just the backside, to plane off any, that 1/8 of an inch of affected wood, let's say. And
Affected
then
wood. Yes.
we put it all back up, and I think there is no possible way he can claim that that is the source of smells. I think there are other likely culprits, but we'll address those
Yeah.
down the line. And then we're also getting set up for putting a washer and dryer at the premises. So
That's going to be wonderful.
it'll be really nice. So he's doing people do this kind of thing there, and it's like, what? But it's basically just a shed that we're sort of putting on the outside of the house, like on an exterior wall, and running the plumbing, and the washer and dryer are just going to sit in this shed, and he'll winterize them. And other people have this set up, and it seems to work. And so that's what we're doing. And then I think we actually can take a break from working on the lake house for a while. Brad's like,
That'll be
until
great.
we have to replace the roof, like, we don't really have to do anything. And I'm sure that, the house will produce enough projects on its own. But it's nice to think that this summer we might be able to just kind of enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to seeing it again with these updates.
Yeah, it's looking nice in there. And he's been, quietly sourcing furniture and moving things around all winter. So it looks a little different than last time you were there. And then when I was in Perry, we went to the dollar store, which is, one of the few retail establishments in Perry. And they had this hat there that's it's camo, and then it has a Chevy logo, and I have a Chevy truck, and I just thought it was like the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And Brad bought it for me because I wouldn't
For
take
a
it
dollar?
off. No, it was like $9. The Dollar
Oh my
General is
goodness.
really changing on us, but worth every penny because I have like a whole new identity now. Like, I am unrecognizable in this hat. I look like somebody. I look like I belong on like Duck Dynasty or like one of the swamp shows. You know how there's like a million swamp based series now. I could be one of those guys.
There was a guy who used to go to people's houses and pull snakes out and stuff, and I don't remember
Sure.
what that was called.
Stacy, like, I kid you not, a guy tried to sell me a 2006 Chevy Silverado, like, for parts. Like, as though I have any idea what to do with a parts truck. But I was like, just the fact that he thought that I might was so amazing to me. It's the hat. The hat, it changes you.
So do you have an alter ego, or as soon as you open your mouth, they're like, "Oh,
The voice really doesn't help matters. But yeah, until I open my mouth, I could totally be like Buck or something. Buck.
Buck Canter." That'd be so good.
Oh man, it's my favorite thing. Oh, I had kind of a funny antiquing anecdote. So, what happened was probably a year ago, I saw this really beautiful bench at this antique store in one of the neighboring towns, Mount Morris.
Cute little town.
Yeah, super cute town. Several really nice little antique stores, and I just remembered how lovely this bench was, and I didn't have a place for it, but I think it will work well in the cottage. And so, based on my hunch, I went to this store, and the bench was still there because it's a big piece of old wooden furniture, which are hard to move. Move meaning sell, not physically transport. It's actually quite lightweight. But anyway, so I was like, hey, guy, like, I know this thing has been here for like over a year. He's like, it's actually been like 7 years. So I'm like, okay, what's the best you can do for me? So he knocks like $100 off the price. And then we're talking because I'm always talking to someone. And he was telling me that he's working on his first like big house rehab. And it's this 1850s federal, really beautiful house. And he was showing me pictures of it. And he was showing it was like abandoned for 20 years or something, like totally gross. And in one of the pictures, there's this like really pretty nice looking rug. And I'm like, hey, that's a nice looking rug. And he's like, you want it? You can have it. And I was like, really? And then I couldn't pick up the bench that day, so I had his phone number. So I texted him and I was like, hey, I really was serious about that rug. And he's like, I mean, I'll pull it out. Like, I don't know. It's pretty bad. And I was like, okay. And so we went to pick up the bench, and the rug was pretty nice. And he was like, what do you want to give me for it? And I was like, it was 50. Like, because I felt like I had a little overly negotiated on the bench. So I felt like I owed him a little bit. So
Right.
anyway, I found this cool
So now you
rug.
have a rug and a bench.
It's pretty nice. And the rug actually is kind of interesting. So I could tell it was machine made, but still pretty old. And then when we were folding it up, it had a tag on it that says Service Stan, and it's from Sears Roebuck and Co. And so I did a
Yeah.
little bit of Googling and I couldn't find much, but I guess Service Stan were these wool rugs that were mass produced starting in I think 1941, and they were supposed to replicate traditional Oriental rugs, and but they also made like linoleum and all kinds of stuff, and they were sold through Sears Roebuck. So it's kind of a cool piece. I don't know. It's not like super
Well, I have a
valuable or
question for
anything.
you.
Yes, tell me.
How can you tell that it's machine made over hand knotted? Let's do a little learning portion of this mini-sode.
Okay, I'm not an expert at this, but the backing is usually the giveaway. So a newer rug will often have that, like, I don't really know what it is, like fiberglass kind of mesh,
Yeah, I know what you're
you
saying. Yeah,
know?
the mesh. Mhm.
Yeah, that's like adhered on. This kind of rug has like it's just a very uniform grid
Okay.
on the back. That's
Yeah.
not helpful at all. But when you see like an older one, it will be, much more irregular. Like you can kind of tell it's hand knotted. This one's, I don't know.
Mhm.
It looks like something that was manufactured, not done
Gotcha.
by hand. I
Now,
don't
when
know.
you say hand knotted, is that literally hand knotted, like every single
Yeah.
thing? Or is, oh my goodness, that's impressive.
It's part of why those old rugs like maintain value is just the amount of time and craftsmanship that has to go into making them is wild.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
cool.
hold up. And incidentally, it's to replace because I put a rug in the room that I won't name, but it was one of these newer like polyester, faux antique oriental rugs, but
I am not a fan of those.
it is trash. It is absolute trash. I've had it for like a year and a half. I had it rolled up for half that time. The rest of the time it was out, and the area that was covered with furniture is just a completely different color than the rest of it. It faded like nobody's business so quickly. Luckily, like I got this rug for free. It was a nice, product thing where they were launching it and hey, can we send you one?
Sure.
Sure. But
Yeah.
man, and so they're expensive. Like they're not cheap. And then I
Wow.
bought this $50 wool rug that's almost 100 years old and
That's great.
still looks great.
Last year, when I hosted that tour to Halifax and the Canadian Maritimes and Prince Edward Island, I hosted that tour through Holiday Vacations too. And we went to a rug hooking museum where they do rug hooking. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And these are artists. And there
Yeah.
was one. display there where this artist, I wish I could remember her name. I wish that I'd known we were going to talk about this and then I could bring it up, but
But we
and
never know what we're gonna,
we never
where
know
they
what we're
sold out.
talking about. Anyway, this fantastic person who's an artist would do these scenes from the Bible, like the Last
Wow.
Supper and portraits of people, including like royalty. And it was just impressive because they also use a grid to do this rug hooking. And I always think of rug hooking as winding around something, the old, I don't know, we did that in the 70s. You weren't alive, but in the 70s we went through and
I've seen them in thrift stores.
owls, usually they
Uh
were
huh.
owls or something like that, very
Tigers
popular.
too, right? That was like a big thing.
Tigers and owls. Yeah, those were big in the 70s. This is very different. It's more like just shoving these little threads in, and they are in there so tightly that they don't come out.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the wool itself, you can't see this, but it has little barbs on the fibers. And the more they're
Oh.
pressed together, the more those little barbs stick together. And if you have enough
Oh.
friction on it, I don't know if you've seen something called felting, where something is
Yeah, yeah,
felted
yeah, yeah.
wool. What they've done is basically rubbed it together fairly aggressively, also gotten it wet, and then it both shrinks and those barbs all stick together and it makes a really solid piece of wool. This is
Oh.
not felted wool, but the concept is kind of the same. The fibers are so close together in the little spaces that they stick together. So
Huh.
we don't feel it as barbs, but we feel it as soft, fluffy goodness for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. But that's how wool
I
works.
didn't know that. That makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. Huh.
Again, the learning portion of today's minisode. All right, so we've talked about what we've been doing on our houses. We just finished the impromptu learning portion of the show about
Mm-hmm.
wool and fibers and machine made versus hand knotted rugs. Do you have anything else you want to talk about today?
Tomorrow, I'm actually going back to Rochester to accept my second preservation award of the year, of the calendar year.
Really?
Yeah, so I this was like a big surprise, and it's not my award. It's very Brad's award, but I like to think I had something to do with it. So SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, which is the office you go through to get historic tax credits when you're doing these historic renovations and stuff, which is something Brad knows a ton about and worked through ad nauseum for his cottage. I don't know. All of a sudden, they sent a letter and said that we are receiving an award for our work on that stupid little cottage that, you know, holds a real near and dear place to my heart. But I feel like much like the land bank houses, not the kind of project that generally gets a preservation award, but uh, pretty
Well,
cool.
congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations. Yeah, tell
Thanks.
Brad I said congratulations too. That's
I
fantastic.
will. So yeah, so I guess there's like a little award ceremony. I have to dig out my suit, my Spanx, you
The
know.
suit. Did you just say you have to dig out your Spanx?
Yeah, I did. I don't actually have Spanx, but before I filmed Cheap Old Houses, I bought like a shapewear tank top from Amazon because the camera really does add 10 pounds, and so yeah, there is not a scene on television that I've been in where I'm not wearing something to just
Something to hold it all together, huh?
cinch stuff up a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not help yourself a little bit?
Well, that's wonderful. Again, congratulations. You absolutely deserve it. The cabin is a real cutie.
It's
So
pretty cute. I like to call it a camp. That's what they always say on. Do you ever watch that show, Maine Cabin Masters?
I do. I love
It's
that
I
show.
love that show, and they have those great Maine accents, and they're always like, "We got to fix the camp," and
Yeah, the camp.
I love
There's a
calling
little
it the
bit of a
camp.
nose there. The
Uh
camp.
huh. Uh huh.
All right.
Anyway,
Well, we have got to wrap it up for today.
we've done it.
We
Another
have
mini
done it.
sode.
I know, just a little sneaker minisode. Just a reminder that the regular season, season 11, starts again Monday, May 6th. So excited about that. Also, again, you can book that trip to England with me and reserve your spot for the window workshop at Silver Lake this summer. All of those things can be found at blakehillhouse.com. Do you have any parting words, Daniel?
Tell your rich friends my house will be available for purchase soon,
Excellent.
but only the rich ones.
Well, thank you for listening to True Tales from Old Houses, the Minisode. Until next time.
See you May 6th.